Happy today.
Happy today.
I'm gonna turn up my volume. There we go. Yes.
How's my volume? Because I've been having issues
Yes.
with my volume.
Sounding,
We saw it going up and down like the Bitcoin price charts. It's up, it's down, it's all over. Where's my volume at? I don't know.
Now it's sounding smooth and buttery as per
good.
usual.
Like maple syrup. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So welcome to the show. Today's show's title is Minor 25er. And we'll get to that in a bit. First, I want to thank all of our sponsors. I want to thank my co-host, Maddie Satz. I want to thank my producer, Nick. I want to thank everyone, obviously, at Quantum Expeditions. We also want to thank Deorganized Media, Shield Folio, and there should be a Shield Folio QR code coming up in just a few moments. Don't forget, you can scan that QR code and get a little discount. And this is a great little tool to protect your seed phrases. Good stuff. But let's get into it. Minor 25er. I think this is the year of Bitcoin mining. Obviously, the big news of the last couple of about 7 to 10 days is the president did what we thought. We just talked about it in the show. Oh, he can sign an executive order and just keep all that Bitcoin. Oh my gosh, that's what happened. I thought
exactly what happened.
Yep, I thought the states were going to beat him to the punch, but no. This is the one thing you can say about President Trump, whether you love him or you hate him, right? He is a man of action. And the last, I have a degree in political science, right? And the last, I don't know how many presidents, they move like snails, right? They get in there and they see how much bureaucracy and red tape they have to deal with. And they just like it literally takes the wind right out of their sails, whatever they have on their agenda. And they just become this like snail-like puppet for the corporate agenda. And it appears, this is just my own political analysis, that President Trump doesn't lie too deep in the heart of either of those camps that want to maintain the status quo. And that's why they really don't like him, because he wants to actually change shit up. And look, I can't believe we have a Bitcoin president. It's phenomenal. I mean, it's mind-bogglingly phenomenal.
What I think just on that point, while we're talking really quick about the president and what happened recently, I think the biggest pushback that a lot of folks over the last, I don't know, we've been in this since 2017, maybe you've been in it a little bit longer than I have, but the biggest narrative and the biggest pushback that you heard from so many detractors was that the government's going to ban it. The government, and now that argument has been totally taken off the table. So guess what? You can't use that FUD anymore. The government's not going to ban it. They're not going to seize your Bitcoin. As a matter of fact, it's all good. And what's about to happen here in the remainder of 2025, I don't think any of us are even capable of comprehending what probably is going to happen here. I think that the banking sector is going to be radically transformed. We're going to see Bitcoin lending. We're going to see Bitcoin bonds. We're going to see Bitcoin applications in financing that are going to melt our minds.
Yeah, no, I totally concur. One of the things that one of my economic theories on Bitcoin that I pointed out maybe like a year or so ago is that if you look at applications of oil, right? 2,000 years ago, like oil's been around for 2,200, 2,500 years. The applications for oil when Jesus walked the earth, right, was like you use it for food, you used it for church, like actual church services, right? And you used it for maybe to like as a lamp for like light, right? It wasn't until 1,500 plus years later where they were like, oh my gosh, we could turn this goopy crap into a fuel and run an engine, right? Bitcoin is literally 2,000 years ahead of where oil was, and it's already close to a $2 trillion market cap. Let that sink in for a second. Let that sink in.
1.649.
Yeah.
Trillion.
So 1.65 trillion dollar market cap, and it's not even 20 years old yet. Are you paying attention, America? Let's get to my first little clip. It's a video I made a few, I want to say, I made it like 10 days or so ago. And it's in reference to quantum expeditions. And
I know them.
Yes, we know those guys. This is a video to all the big guys out there, because I know there are a lot of VCs now that Bitcoin is becoming more legitimized to put their money. But let me see if I got it shared up, and I think I do.
So it's 2025. The president pulled the trigger. We have a strategic Bitcoin reserve. So let's be real. You know, I haven't had the greatest 3 or 4 years since the Celsius event. No big deal. But let's make 2025 great for me as well as the rest of the country. If you're not aware, I am affiliated with Quantum Expeditions. They have a mining operation in Western Texas. They are looking for seed money. Obviously, if you want to invest a small amount of money, you go to their WeFunder page and just do it that way. And there are some benefits depending on how much you invest. Obviously, the more you invest, more benefits. However, if you are a VC out there, that's my dog back there, Blue, and you want to invest 1 million and up, 10 million, 20, whatever, you know, you're thinking about, now's the time, right? We're way smaller than Mara. We're way smaller than Riot. And, you know, it's a big investment for us. It's a small investment for you. And if you can 10x your return when we IPO, then everyone's a winner. And Bitcoin's now, we all know, is not going anywhere officially. So with that being said, the president said he's going to try and make it budget neutral. Well, that means the BMA will come into play. And what is the BMA? That's the Bitcoin Mining Authority. And this is an operation that goes around looking for wasted energy that we can convert into what? Bitcoin, right? We hook up ASICs, boom, we're adding that onto the balance sheet, just like El Salvador is doing with their geothermal mining. Anyway, if you're interested, please DM me. Again, we're here. We never thought this day would come, but we're here. So if you're interested, hit me up. Obviously, this is for 1 million up VC investors. Peace.
So if you heard what I was saying there, literally, like we said, the president made a move. This is a big move. I am directing this directly at Michael Saylor because MicroStrategy has a ton of money and they have invested it into
You mean strategy now? Strategy.
Oh, yeah. It's called Strat B. Strat B.
Strategy.
Or I call it BitStrat.
That works.
But yeah, they Strat B has a ton of money and they've invested it into this bond program with Bitcoin, which is pretty interesting. But they need to have infrastructure, right? You guys need to be investing into mining infrastructure now so you can get that corn on the side, right? Like El Salvador is doing with their geothermal, right? You need to have some BTC mining ops on the bottom line, right? So you got tons of money. How about 100 mil? Quantum Expeditions. Let's do this. Anyway, let's get on to the next article. I got a whole bunch pulled up here. I saw that Paul was saying U.S. voters oppose Trump's push for a national Bitcoin reserve. Yeah, that's because most U.S. national voters are complete morons and have no idea about anything.
You know what? I I love Paul, and I saw he was on last week on the Bitcoin Live Network. It's great to see Paul making an appearance again. And you know, when I saw his comment come up here in the stream just this morning, you know what, my thought was the same exact thing that you just said. U.S. voters are idiots.
Yes, unfortunately,
I love you, Paul.
We love you, Paul, but he knows I'm right.
Yeah.
If it again, this is the example. Yeah, and here's one of the articles from Maddie. Why Bitcoin is important for the future of America, right? So Maddie wrote this article a couple weeks ago. There it is, I think February 18th. Look how many jobs it added. This is before the president signed the executive order, right? So it created 31,000 jobs. It added 4 billion. Right? That's reported, right? That's for all the people who are doing the right things, right? I'm sure that number is probably slightly higher because there's all these mining ops all over. And where can they get that article? Is that article just on your X or is that on?
Yeah. I think I posted it on my LinkedIn, but it's on X, and I think it's been shared, Quantum Expeditions, Quantum Economics, the Quantum team, the Quantum family. But yeah, I generally just kind of put my articles there on the platform, and then if people pick them up and it gets disseminated and shared, then so be it. And if not, well then.
Yeah. And Peace Love said they shared it on Deorganized as well.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that. But yes, this is why, again, it's so vital, right? And one of the analogies I use that people don't understand why adding Bitcoin to the balance sheet of the United States is so vital, and we've talked about it since the show started, and is if you knew gold was going to go up to $10,000 an ounce, do you think the United States should add to their position of gold, or do you think they should sell their gold? It's a really simple question, right? And the answer is you would add to your position. You wouldn't take away from your position. So I think the first thing that the U.S. government, like I said, has to start doing is consider what I was talking about in the video clip there, right? Is a Bitcoin mining authority, right? Where in this article that Maddie wrote, you can see it's created already 31,000 jobs. If we create this Bitcoin mining authority that puts offices in every 50 states, in the capital of every 50 states, and goes across each one of those states, and obviously depending on your state's size and budget, you can have a bigger team or smaller team, etc. But they go around to all these energy sites for different energy companies, different energy projects, tons of ways you can generate Bitcoin and create new jobs, create new revenue, and put America back in the #1 slot for being the leaders in technology and infrastructure. This truly is, right? This is the connecting of a new railroad, right? The blockchain, specifically Bitcoin's blockchain, is the Trans-Pacific Railway. And anyone that doesn't see that analogy, I'm sorry, been living under a rock. Bitcoin's almost 15. It's going to be 15 this October. Holy moly. But the future's bright and clear. Bitcoin mining is the future. I have some other articles pulled up here.
So one thing I want to jump in while you're transitioning here is back on December 21st, and I've been seeing this. Reason I know this is because I'm getting some likes now on it. So I don't know what's happening. The bots or somebody are starting to pick up on this. But back on December 21st, after President Trump was then President-elect Trump, I put out a tweet with a video kind of unpacking my thoughts. Could real Donald Trump, tagging him there in the post, nationalize Bitcoin mining in his upcoming term? It might not be as crazy as it sounds. I tweeted that out with the video back on December 21st. It's getting some traction now again. I'm going to reshare it, but I almost kind of brought up a bigger debate that we were having on some of the spaces over the week with our friends from Wolf Financial and some of the other folks. We were talking about, and I think we were talking about this on the quantum space as well with Marty Greenspan, was that if we did see a nationalization of Bitcoin mining, does that then put the U.S. in a weird position? Because if they can actually print money to buy Bitcoin, why are they mining Bitcoin? So there was this whole kind of back and forth dialogue that we were having if they actually were to nationalize Bitcoin mining.
Well, again, we're going to get into that a little bit more in a second.
Did I jump too far ahead? I'm sorry. Hold on. Let me.
No. I think it's something. No, yeah, just reel it back a second. I wanted to just share your tweet from, I think it is a couple of days or like a week or so ago. And this is huge, right? Just a year ago, the position was the exact opposite of what this is stating right here. Right now, the OCC is clarifying banks can hold crypto, right?
That was the bigger news. That was the bigger news. That came out on the Crypto Summit Friday.
Yeah, that is a huge deal. That this article, along with the signing of the executive order and keeping of that stash of Bitcoin, this is the future of America. And I know there's a lot of Americans that don't get it because they're behind the curve because they don't understand cryptography. And I want to point out why I have another short video, and this is from the CEO of Signal. Give me 1 second. I can pull that up. And this is why cryptography is so important. Oh, wow. It's like the next one down on the screen. Super duper.
Signal is clocking this pretty closely. I think there's a real danger that we're facing, and Signal is clocking this pretty closely, of the introduction of this sort of notion of agentic AI into our devices and lives, in part because what we're doing is giving so much control to these systems that are going to need access to data. The value add is something like can look up a concert, book a ticket, schedule it in your calendar, and message all your friends that it's booked, right? So what would it need to do that? Well, it would need access to our browser, an ability to drive that. It would need our credit card information to pay for the tickets. It would need access to our calendar, everything we're doing, everyone we're meeting. It would need access to Signal to open and send that message to our friends. And it would need to be able to drive that across our entire system with something that looks like root permission. Accessing every single one of those databases, probably in the clear, because there's no model to do that encrypted. And if we're talking about a sufficiently powerful model, AI model that's powering that, there's no way that's happening on device, even though on device isn't a prophylactic, isn't going to really solve a lot of those issues. That's almost certainly being sent to a cloud server where it's being processed and sent back. So there's a profound issue with security and privacy that is haunting this sort of hype around agents, and that is ultimately threatening to break the blood-brain barrier between the application layer and the OS layer by conjoining all of these separate services, muddying their data, and doing things like undermining the privacy of your Signal messages because, hey, the agent's got to get in, the agent's got to text your friends, the agent's got to pull the data out of your text and got to summarize that so that, again, your brain can sit in a jar and you're not doing any of that yourself. You're doing something else. So I think we need to be really careful. You know, when I think about the immediate concerns, not simply the history of AI and the fact that it's, you know, predicated on this larger surveillance model, there's a real issue right now of the undermining that AI systems are poised to do in these privacy and security guarantees in the name of this sort of, you know, magic genie bot that's going to take care of the exigencies of life.
And I just I want to point out
stuff right there.
Okay, go ahead. So go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying that's really great. That was a really great comment. Great video. What she said there was really good.
Oh yeah, and there's a couple of applications that you do give permissions to all those things. TikTok is one of those apps where everything she said, you've given them the keys to, right?
Root permissions.
TikTok, if
root permissions.
Correct. You give all the root permissions to TikTok to literally mess with your posts, mess with your text messages, mess with your banking info, right? This is why TikTok got all these root permissions, because when they add AI bots and agents to their platform, it'll work, right? But this is why we've talked about this many times, and she brought it up, right? That it can't be encrypted. Oh, yes, it can. There's this thing called Bitcoin and Litecoin. And that's why these things are so vital to the future of the world, right? If we do not have these things encrypted, then what happens? AI gets out of control, and then we have a Terminator thing going down, right? If it's controlled by by encryption, then it doesn't matter. If you don't have those root keys, at this time it becomes encrypted keys, you do not get those root permissions no matter how good your AI agent is. It doesn't matter. If it doesn't have the encrypted keys, it's not getting the information or the permission or the access to the systems, period.
End of story, full stop.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's a very slippery slope. And I think that kind of technology needs to be implemented so that we can continue to move forward and evolve, but also have that peace of mind when it comes to security. So it'll be interesting to see how that whole dynamic unfolds.
Agreed. And this is why it's so vital that we move to encrypted money, right? Let me see if I can find this article from just the other day where it was like all these I think it was like the dark web hacked 2,300,000 bank accounts, I think was. Hold on, let me go to my main page.
Nick says here, wouldn't you also need Bitcoin and or Litecoin for timestamps and to keep AI tethered to reality, Gerald?
Yes, I totally agree that we need to start having timestamps be immutable, because if you've gone through the Web 2.0, you've seen how many things get scrubbed from the Web 2.0 or their timestamps can be edited, and you can tell a whole different narrative with a fraudulent timestamp, right? Like, this is not how you want things to operate. And the Web 3.0, especially with Bitcoin, and why, again, I stray away from Ethereum, these things are immutable, right? We need these things to be immutable because it is the truth layer, right? If we're calling it the trust machine, well, then we need it to be, if it's written in stone, like, you know, the 10 Commandments, then it needs to be there 4,000 years later. Sorry, that's Moses time. And that's just how it is. Like, it's got to be there when we come back to it, right? This is one of the most two important things about Bitcoin and Litecoin, right? We talked about this last show. If there's an energy issue and something arises and the web goes down for a few years, all your money in your binary bank accounts on those servers gone. Ethereum, most of the information is on an Amazon server. Guess what? Gone. If it's on LTC or BTC, the second the internet becomes back live, you can pull up those UTXOs and your money is still in those blocks, right? It's still there. I found that article. Here it is. Oh my gosh, it is definitely it's not a good article. Let me see. Yeah, there it is. 2,300,000 credit and debit cards leaked on the dark web as hackers infect millions of devices and drain bank accounts. Yeah. And then I had to put the last little edit on the end. Bitcoin and Litecoin fixes this. So the world is going to learn very quickly, the Western world, why encrypted money is vital. And this is what I've been warning about for over 4 or 5 years. The hackers are going to start learning that it's almost impossible to hack into a personal Bitcoin wallet, right? It is literally, it would take you, even with a quantum processor, it will take you like 1,000 years to crack into a Bitcoin wallet, and you're dead by the time the computer gets in. You're dead. So good luck with that shit. All these people are like, oh, what about quantum computers, or what about this, or what if this Satoshi does this, or blah blah blah. You guys have no idea what you're talking about, right? This is one of the biggest psyops, I think it was accidental psyops that happened to the United States of America, right? MySpace came along and most of America started to learn HTML, right? You started to learn a little bit of code and look behind, peek behind the veil and see what's going on. And then there came this Wizard of Oz. His name was Mark Zuckerberg, and he made it all easy and then pulled the curtain back, and everyone stop learning technology, stop learning code. And here we are today where most of America is like, we don't need Bitcoin. We got Venmo. We got Zelle. Yeah. Wait until all your money gets sapped from one of your many accounts and you learn that it's not secure at all. Full stop.
Full stop. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. But yes, it's proof of work, and this is why Bitcoin mining is so important, right? The miners incentivize the base layer, right? And make it secure, right? So we have we have not only people investing, their time and resources and money, they are part of this huge network, right? Like we talk about the hash rate all the time. It did pull back a little bit the last couple of days, but it's still strong, still like 700 exahashes. The amount of computational power that this is, right? We're in the close to zettahash range, right? That's, oh my gosh. I think it's in the quintillion calculations per second, something like that. It's insane. It's totally insane. So when we talk about security, it is literally 1,000,000 times more secure than your bank account, right? Like literally, if you have any Bitcoin in a cold storage device, it's 1,000,000 times more secure than your bank account. We just saw right there, right? The guys on the dark web just picked up 2 million debit and credit cards. What do you think they're doing with that stuff? Cha-ching, 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 cha-ching. That's 2,300,000 different accounts, right? That's not $2 million. That could be $100 million, right? It could be $20 million. We don't know because it's 2 million different accounts. And those guys are going nuts because banking web 2.0 security, that's a mouthful, is a joke. It just is. And what the CEO of Signal was hinting at is you want to give root permissions to these AI agents to go into all of these things. That's all well and good until it makes a mistake, right? You're like, oh, I want to book this flight to Seattle to go watch a Kraken game with Matty Sats, and it books it for the next year, right? Because 2027 or 2026. Oops, it booked the wrong year. Yeah. And that's the one thing that these AI companies don't want to let most of the populace know. It's in the disclaimer. If you pull it up into whatever system you're using it with, whether it's Yahoo or Indeed or whatever application they're trying to slap it on like they do with everything else in the web 2.0, it'll be in the fine print. Oh, just so you know, this thing makes boo-boos all the time. But yeah, it's going to take everyone's jobs, even though it makes errors all the time. What? Yeah, you would think so, Paul. You would think so. But I've been testing Grok and I've been testing Chat GPT for the last couple of months, and they come up all the time. And I don't know how many times I've corrected Chat GPT in the last 6 months, especially when it comes to Bitcoin shit. And I'm like, no, you're wrong. She's like, oh, wait. Oh, you're right. No, you are right. I'm wrong. And I'm like, what? You don't want to hear that shit until you're talking to a 10-year-old. Like if you're, it's almost as if you are persuasive enough, the AI will kowtow to your expertise.
Yeah. I've had that same experience with ChatGPT. You'll prompt some queries, it'll come back, but then you'll be like, hey, but what about this? And then you actually provide the link to it, and then ChatGPT is like, oh, yeah, you're right. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, with that, now that you've added that information, you are correct.
Yeah, there's a lot there. And again, so I'm not so sure whether I trust ChatGPT all the time.
Yeah, or I tried to say, I asked
really
it, pull up some photos. Can you pull up these photos from the web? No, I can't do that. Oh, really? I know
Yeah,
that if you get some better learning models, it can do it. But first off, let's point out it's not AI, right?
And Paul's point there is, yeah, it's true, but it's going to get better as time goes on. Yeah, I'm sure that, yeah, as it does, as all things do, they generally do improve and whatnot. So, just as any technology.
Yeah, but it's not AI, right? It's algorithmic machine learning, right? That's what it really is. And it's fascinating stuff, but it's been around since Siri, right? Siri's like one of the original first ones, and she's garbage now compared to Chat GPT. But again, I asked Grok, like even just a couple weeks ago, I think it was like a month and a half ago, I asked Grok, I was like, hey, Grok, could you make a chart comparing gold and Bitcoin from 2017 till now? And it is like, I cannot make charts. Sorry. And I was like, what? Like, this is the whole reason I want to use you fuckers is to do stuff like this, because I don't want to take two charts and plot them and do all the math and shit. You do that shit. Oh, I can't do that. Well, what?
Well, there are other AI programs through the OpenAI suite that I think actually do that. So if you,
Of course. There's different different levels of this algorithmic machine learning, and obviously the freer ones won't do as much cool stuff as the paid for stuff. Let's be clear, and we get that. But yeah, again, in my opinion, there is still all these companies should be investing money in getting Bitcoin on the balance sheet or investing in the Bitcoin mining ops. That's where I'm at. Stop wasting all your money on shit you don't need, like AI. Like, let's get back to what else happened in the world of crypto. Give me a second, because I don't think I'm on my bookmarks page. So I had all these ones pulled up, and oh yeah, here's a good one.
Yeah, and Nick says here, wouldn't it also not make sense that all the stuff we're allowed to play with in the public realm isn't the most advanced AI out there? Of course not. No, they're not giving us all the
greatest. They're not going to give us the latest and greatest. But until AI can be error free, it's dangerous. It's very dangerous, right? Especially, if you wanted to execute on certain things, right? Like you wanted to, like we were just stating, let's say you wanted to book a trip to go see a friend in Seattle, go watch a hockey game, and it books the flight and the hotel and all this, and everything's right except the flight, it missed a year by 1 year. Well, that screws up your whole trip. And now you have a huge problem, because now you got to either rebook the hotel and all the other stuff, right? Or you got to rebook the flight, and now it's got to do more work, right? So this is the thing that people don't realize is the AI is going to do all these cool things, but if it creates a problem, then it has to fix that problem, or you have to fix that problem. So it's just going to create more problems, right? That somebody's down the line is going to have to, a real person is going to have to deal with. And that's why I just tell people, like, if you're this huge company and it's really not going to solve, like if you're a database management company and you're using AI to manage data, I think it's probably going to be a good big win for you. But if you're a company like Indeed and you're strapping AI like on top of this layer that you already built, that's another layer that's strapped on the web 2.0, and you're like, hey, here's AI for a job searching program that's, by the way, we'll make mistakes. I was like, oh, that's great. What if they give me the wrong address or the wrong?
Well, I think this is exactly what, like, Matthew McConaughey is starring in these commercials for the AI powered assistant agent force, right? This is kind of the whole thing. I don't know if you've seen these ads, but what's the ad where he's sitting outside at the restaurant and it's raining and like, oh, and so I think that is exactly the application and the situations to which you're speaking of, which companies like Salesforce with their AI powered assistant agent force are actually trying to circumnavigate and solve and answer these questions and problems.
again, I think if you're a big Web 2.0 company like Salesforce, yes, AI is going to enable higher productivity at some level. If you're just taking AI and slapping it onto another layer, application layer, and like Yahoo's doing, it's a waste of money, right? You're just throwing money at the new hottest, latest, greatest technology, which isn't fully even developed yet, right? That's the point that I'm trying to make. Let's get to this chart that I pulled up from CoinGlass from, I think, last week. And all these people that are worried. I mean, look at the volume just from November till now compared to last year, from January till May. It's a totally different volume chart. We got obviously a huge spike last year in February, right after the ETF launched. But as you can see, just from the end of October till now, we've got wave after wave after wave of volume on this ETF. So it didn't make sense.
What does it tell you, Gerald? What is that chart telling you right now? What does your insight and analysis give you?
It's telling me that the institutional investors aren't going anywhere. We're seeing obviously IBIT. We did look at some charts from the last show and see that the 7-day trends. There was people selling their ETF positions, but overall, we see at the institutional level people stacking mad sats, right? Clearly. And it leads to my other theory, which I haven't really shared too audibly on the show because I didn't have enough data points. But I felt that we were in a currency war with China and other big players because of what has been going on with China, right?
Well, to your point, though, Gerald, really quick, I just want to bring up a piece of data. U.S. Bitcoin ETFs erase year-to-date gains as cumulative inflows drop to the lowest value since January 2nd. So there's that.
Again, outflows are meeting those inflow demands. So that would mean, we're at about a zero, right? Why isn't Bitcoin closer to 100K then? And I think the information that I found, I think it was yesterday, kind of shows exactly what is going on. Give me 1 second because I thought I had it. But again, I jumped from my bookmark set up on the PC. So you got to go to your more thing. Like, come on, Elon. Why do I got to go more? It should be like the top 1 or 2. It should be right after messages. It shouldn't be Grok. It should be bookmarks. Just throwing it out there. This is a designer. So where was it? Give me a sec. All right, here's another one from Matt that I want to share before I forget. Is it on the screen? Can you see that?
Yeah, it's there.
So this is another one, and we discussed this, right? That eventually Bitcoin's going to seek out the cheaper power, and over the next probably 15 to 20 years, we're going to see an increase in power demand because AI uses AI uses way more power than Bitcoin, which most of the world isn't aware of. But we're going to see a huge spike in demand for power, and we're going to see an increase in price for power. But then it's going to plateau, and then it's going to start to come down. And as the price of power starts to come down, that's what this golden age is all about. As power comes down, that means you're going to start to make more Bitcoin, right? And obviously, if power comes down, even if you're not, using that power to generate or mine Bitcoin, you can obviously, depending on what you're trying to do in the world, you can start a business, right? Like if it's a high energy intensive business, not like AI or Bitcoin, but something like, I don't know, you want to build, let's say, for example, a huge wood shop, and you know that your electricity is going to be one of your highest overheads, and that's literally stopped you from doing it for X amount of years. And now if energy comes down 50%, let's say, you're getting, instead of it's 0.045 per kilowatt hour, and you're getting 0.02. And now this, is a huge difference in your business model. It'll allow people to start businesses that could never start a business before, because your energy costs are just too exorbitant. So this is a huge thing, right? And again, it's going to take some time, but exactly what we're talking about: mining with natural gas, mining with methane wasted flare, mining with who is it? Mara's doing with that large wind farm in Western Texas, which I said I wouldn't be surprised if they leased that energy from T. Boone Pickens. If you've ever seen that wind farm, it's effing huge. I've seen it a couple times because I've driven across the country because I was a semi-professional musician for many years. And that wind farm in Western Texas, it generates megawatts. So again, Mara is utilizing that energy source to generate Bitcoin. And in El Salvador, it's their geothermal. I won't be surprised when Iceland pulls this off, or any one of the countries in the Nordic region where they have geothermal to access. Because as soon as they start to figure that they can, boom, create an energy project, create energy for the local community, and then any wasted energy goes right to generating Bitcoin.
Yeah, I'm surprised Iceland hasn't jumped on that. I mean, they are like, they are known for geothermal activity. If anything, it's almost might be too dangerous. You see these lava flows from the geothermal activity kind of impeding on some of these communities, and folks are forced to evacuate. So as much as there is, it might be maybe a little cost prohibitive. I don't know.
Yeah, again, it's time for the world to realize that Bitcoin is here to fix all of these problems that you're all screaming from the net mountaintops that we need to fix. Well, Bitcoin does fix this, right? It makes solar actually feasible for long term, right? Because the problem with solar and wind isn't that they don't generate energy. It's that we can't transmit that energy when and where we need it the most. And Bitcoin solves that problem, right? It becomes a distribution credit, right? It becomes a waste credit when it's methane flare, or the carbon credit, whatever you want to call it. It can be whatever you need it to be. But I did find that article, and here it is, kind of putting that final data point on my theory that we are in some type of currency war. I hope that's up on the screen. Let me see. Come on, computer. So here it is, just in. And it also would, lead credence to what's happening in the markets, right? If Russia, China, and India are doing this, which it appears this is the case, this would lead to why we're seeing the price fluctuations, right? Because this is me speculating at this point, but I'm really good at this types of speculation. So here's my theory of what's going on, right? So China buys all this Bitcoin, right? And they send it to Russia, right? Oh, actually, sorry. They buy all this Bitcoin, right? And as soon as the Bitcoin goes up, let's say like, I don't know, 1%, they sell it for Tether, right? And then they take that Tether and then they buy the oil with Tether, right? And if they're doing this, or they do it with Ethereum and then sell their Ethereum and buy the Tether, if they're doing this, and it makes more sense with Bitcoin because we're seeing a much bigger drop in Bitcoin, but we are seeing a drop in Ethereum as well. If they're doing this, that means they're not holding the underlying asset, right? They're not holding spot Bitcoin and just using that on the main layer. They're taking Bitcoin, selling the Bitcoin, buying Tether, and then using the Tether because it's a stable coin. This would lead to volatility at the Bitcoin on the Bitcoin base layer. So the other thing I noticed the other day is block times were taking like almost 20 some minutes. So people are still using Bitcoin, y'all. That's a long time. I think I saw it said this transaction will be confirmed in 27 minutes. I was like, what? That's a long time. So when Bitcoin's confirmation times are like close to a half an hour, people are definitely utilizing for sure. But yeah, I mean, just look at this article. It leads credence to what I was saying that spaces, right? Some guy DM'd me and said I was crazy. And I was like, yeah, really? Oh, am I crazy? Clearly I'm not. And it gets around all these sanctions very easily with a couple of clicks of buttons. And these guys are trading right around the United States dollar with no problems whatsoever. Yeah. I was just reading Nick's little message. Aren't the big players taking over the weak paper hands? So, I mean, yes, if we're seeing this huge volume in the ETF, and Maddie was saying that we do have like almost equal outflows, then, we're kind of at a zero sum game at this point. And we should still be close to 100K, especially with the hash rate still, over 700 exahashes. Let me see. I might have the hash rate chart pulled up. Give me a sec. Yeah, I do. Let me hit refresh because this is the whole one. Yeah, it just hit 900 again. When was this? Today. So it just hit 930 a few hours ago. So, I mean, people are, like I said, people are still using the network. All signs point to, I think I had a chart pulled up. Here's the hash rate. Yeah, it just hit like right here, 930 exahashes. And that was today. So again, people are still using the network. And I think I have a price chart. Boom. I was just gonna say, there's another a bull pennant, and there's a big green candle right there. Here, let me pull that up. Boom. And there's another boom. Okay, so this, oh my gosh. So those guys just got wrecked. Holy moly. Oopsies. That's why you shouldn't do that. So the big news of this morning, let me pull up. The big news this morning is someone put up a $300 million short on Bitcoin. They just got wrecked. So somebody just lost over $1 billion. Wow. That was just one short, by the way. So again, I don't know how much money that the exchanges are reeling in. Because like literally, I mean, that was one guy's position, $300 million short, and he just got whacked, right? Like we're at 84,800, almost 85K. That guy just got destroyed. And at 85, there's like another like 900 million plus shorts that get wrecked. Yeah, Deribit, Bybit, Binance, all of these companies are just raking in money. Like, stop it. Just buy spot and sit on it and hold your corn.
Something that I just saw. I want to just kind of jump in here and maybe just call an audible really quick. But this is something that I've been hyping for some time, and now I'm seeing more proof of this. Again, we are kind of the folks out here. Yes, we speculate a little bit, and yeah, we're on the edge, and some of the stuff we say might seem a little controversial or out there. But then I think as time moves on, those comments and things that we say actually come to bear fruit. One in particular I wanted to share comes out yesterday from I believe it was Sergey Gorbanov. I'm going to make sure if I get his name right. Sergey over there tweeting out from Algorand and working with IBM, et cetera. Well-respected guy. He's got a lot of experience in the blockchain world, but basically saying the Genius Act, which is a stablecoin act, could let Bank of America and other major institutions issue their own stablecoin. All right. This is very, I don't have the screen shared up, Nick. Sorry. But this, I'm just looking at this right now. I've been saying this for some time. Bank of America and all these other major financial institutions will be issuing their own stable coins, and these will be akin to a CBDC. I know that's very controversial, but they will act and function the same version as a CBDC. You'll have your reward points, and you'll be incentivized to use the Bank of America stablecoin versus, the JP Morgan stablecoin or the Wells Fargo stablecoin. But they will be programmed. They'll have expiration dates. They'll have all this stuff. You know what? I'm not sure. It's Sergey Gorbanov. Sergey _Nog. I could share it. I'm sorry, Nick. I'm not that
I actually think I have I don't have that tweet pulled up, but I have one of your tweets pulled up. Give me a sec.
But this is the big thing, and this is kind of what we saw again from the tweet earlier that we shared from the OCC. Right, saying that, look, banks are cleared to issue and custody and service crypto and all of this kind of stuff. And Brian Moynihan, from CEO of Bank of America back at Davos at the beginning of the year, was saying, yes, we're going to come in hard on the transactional side. Once we get the green light and the clearance, Bank of America is going to be there. They've got the patent pending technology. They've got all this stuff on the side. They're just waiting for the green light. They've been given this green light now. And what Sergey is saying here is exactly what we've been saying for some time, is that, yes, these major financial institutions are going to be issuing their own stablecoin. And this goes exactly to what Scott Bessent said back Friday prior to the crypto summit. Okay. He was on CNBC. As a matter of fact, I might even have the audio. Hold on. Scott Bessent was saying that they are, as we transition from the government spending, which has fueled the economy for so long, and we pivot to, the private sector, or I should say the public sector, he said that the banking sector was going to be the one that they really leaned on. And you hear him say, again, stable coins are going to be the way. So let me see if I have that audio really quick from Scott Bessent.
Look, there's an adjustment. We'll see whether there's pain. What we are trying to do, I talked about it at the Economic Club of New York yesterday. We are trying to transition from public to private. And I talked about we are going to have safe and sound regulation to get our banking system going again. So the banks should be generating loans to private companies. Employment should be from private companies, not from government. And I'm confident if we have the right policies, it'll be a very smooth transition.
Let me ask you this.
So there you go. You hear him. I don't know how much more clear it needs to be. He's telling you that they are going to rely on the banking sector. And you heard him say at the crypto summit, stable coins are going to be the way that they make sure that the US dollar remains the world reserve currency. So I'm expecting massive transformation in the banking sector tied to Bitcoin lending, tied to Bitcoin bonds, and stable coins are going to be the Trojan horse to bring in that CBDC here in the US. That's why it's so important to stay safe, stack sats, and hodl.
And perfect segue into your tweet from just the other day. It was Thursday or Friday, rather. And here is who is this? Scott, I guess it's Representative Scott. Yeah.
Tim Scott
talking about what we were just saying.
The digital asset community, and more importantly, the American consumers, deserve clarity. For far too long, the absence of a regulatory framework has left consumers vulnerable and businesses in the dark. This uncertainty has also stifled innovation here at home in America. That changes today. The Genius Act is a bipartisan step forward in ensuring stablecoins are safe and reliable tools in the financial system. The Genius Act establishes common sense rules that require stablecoin issuers to maintain reserves backed one-to-one, comply with anti-money laundering laws, and ultimately protect American consumers while promoting the U.S. dollar's strength in the global economy. This is about keeping innovation and opportunity on American soil rather than driving it overseas. We are also taking an action today to end the weaponization of financial regulators.
So this also would lead credence to why we're seeing huge on-chain demand for stablecoins over just the last like couple of quarters, right? If we do have not only just big banks starting to scoop up some of these stable coins, we also have China and India and Russia doing this. Yes. Again, this will affect the volatility of Bitcoin if they are literally just using it as an intermediary. Like, why even buy Bitcoin? Just start learning to use Bitcoin, and then you know what happens? Oh, Bitcoin goes to $1 million, right? Instead of you buying Bitcoin, it goes to 85K. You buy $100 million worth of Tether, and then you send that $100 million worth of Tether to Russia. It's like you're just wasting time. You're just wasting time and money. And getting back to stable coins again, I will keep screaming this. Hold on, because I got to find it. I know it's on my screen. Why the Ethereum virtual machine is one of the biggest schisms in the world. Oh, here it is. Thank the Lord. Let's pull up my tweet from just, I think like a week ago on my birthday. Oh, hilarious. Let's see. Is that it? Yeah, there we go. So again, a guy traded 220,000 USDC to Tether, and these MEV bots front ran the order and somehow squished it down to 5K. And this is one of the things I tell people of why you don't want to use DEXs when you're closing out a big position, right? This is, I wasn't even familiar with this type of Ethereum attack. But this is just another reason why the Ethereum virtual machine sucks, right? If you converted $220,000 and I gave you your 5K back, I wouldn't be surprised if you pulled a gun on me, right? Like, this is some kind of thievery, right? Like, that's a lot of money to lose on a swap. But if you're going to do these kinds of swaps, this is why you send that USDC to a centralized exchange, and then guess what? You're going to get probably $15,000 back. You're going to lose some because they're going to take a chunk, but you're going to get most of it back, right? If you did that on a centralized exchange that does have Tether and USDC, you're easily going to be able to swap that like on Binance or again, one of the KuCoin, etc., and not lose a ton in slippage, right? This is just, oh my gosh, my brain hurts every time I read this tweet. But yes, this is why Ethereum sucks. Oh. And I think we're going to wrap it for today because I think we got right into an hour. But yeah, this is why be careful with, again, anytime you're swapping from one asset to another asset, look at the slippage, right? Make sure your slippage is like around 1% or less. Because if it's higher, because sometimes they auto set it to like 3 to 5% just because they're like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, just be very aware of those kind of things because you can lose a ton of money on just clicking the wrong button, or in this case, unfortunately, this guy got front ran by an MEV bot that just basically is like putting its order in front of their order, like I guess a couple hundred times, and literally screwed this guy out of $250,000.
Wow.
Yeah,
It's crazy, man.
It's insane.
Crazy.
But this is why I've been warning people, like the Ethereum virtual machine is a big scam. You could not do this kind of stuff on Litecoin. You can't do this on Bitcoin, right? There obviously are ways to capture tons of capital using Bitcoin and Litecoin, right? Like Saylor's doing with Bitcoin, right? He's selling debt and then buying more Bitcoin, right? You can do that. There are types of tricks to generate revenue with Bitcoin. And then, again, we're just discovering the new applications, right? There's going to be all these other ways to generate Bitcoin transactions and validate them, right? Whether using the Lightning Network, the layer 2 network, or the base layer, it solves so many problems that you as a human don't even think about when you're talking about electricity or energy. You're not thinking like, oh, how much energy does Japan lose every year to methane flare, methane waste from dumps, poor transmission from wind and solar. If you add up all of those things, it becomes this huge, enormous number of megawatts, right? And if you take those megawatts and you convert them into mining power and you convert it to Bitcoin like El Salvador's doing, your economy is going to be great. If you don't do that, your economy is going to be shit. And I'm glad that the president is, changed his mind on Bitcoin, because he used to say, I don't like Bitcoin. And anybody that can change their mind and see the future about Bitcoin, I'm sorry, I trust way more than people are just shake their fist at it and go, oh, it's evil. And yeah, okay. We've never heard that one before. Anyway, it's been a great show. Miner 25er. Bitcoin is the future of America's economy. Thank you, Maddie Satz. Thank you to our producer, Nick. Thank you to all our sponsors, Shield Folio, Deorganized Media, Quantum Expeditions, Quantum Economics, and have a great day. Peace.
Peace.